Saul was the first king to reign over Israel. Afterwards, he disobeyed God so much that the Spirit of God departed from him, and many times he would call the psalmist David to play his harp to appease his mind. However, it came to the place where David had to flee from Saul and find a hiding place, or else Saul would kill him. In the background, we have the city of Gath. It is here where David came, and we're going to read it to you from 1 Samuel chapter 21, beginning at verse 10. Then David arose and fled that day before Saul, and went to Achish the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said to him, Is this not David the king of the land? Did they not sing of him to one to another in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Now David took these words to heart, and was very wroth, and much afraid of Achish the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before him, and pretended madness in their hands, scratched on the doors of the gate, let saliva fall down on his beard. Then Achish said to his servants, Look, you see the man is insane. Why have you brought him to me? Have I need of a madman, that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? And then David expresses his feelings at this place, as he writes in Psalms chapter 56. Let me read to you his feelings. He prays to God, Be merciful to me, O God. The man would swallow me up. Fighting all day he oppresses me. My enemies would hound me all the day. For there are many who fight against me, O Most High. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in the Lord. In God I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust, I will not fear. What can flesh do to me? All the days they twist my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They gather together, they hide, they mark my steps. When they lie in wait for my life, shall they escape by iniquity? In anger cast down the people, O God. You number my wanderings, put my tears into your bottle. Are they not in your book? When I cry to you, then the enemies will turn back. This I know, because God is for me. In God I will praise his word. In the Lord I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust, I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Vows made to you are binding upon me, O God. I will render praises to you, for you have delivered my soul from death. Have you not kept my feet from failing, that I may walk before God in the light of the living? So here we are with Gath in the background, and we're privileged to have with us Arie to come and explain to us some of the background of Gath and the life of King Saul and David.
Yeah, so behind me is Gath, one of the 5 Philistines cities. Let's remember, 3 of them are on the shore, on the coast. Actually, Ashkelon, Gaza, Ashdod almost has port, almost. But 2 of the cities, this one, Gath, and in the north Ekron, are more inland. They are more close to the Israelites, which are on my right side. From here came Goliath. Here, the brothers of Goliath were living. Now, when Goliath went from here, went to the place of Azekah and down the Elah Valley, which is like 2 hours on chariot with horse. From here he left in the morning and went there cursing Israel, maybe coming back, and again in the evening went to the battlefield to curse Israel. It's a huge city of the Philistines, and it's very interesting city. Not like the other city, the king of this city, the officer, is called Achish. And you know what? In a way, he became almost friend with David. As we have just heard, the first time David arrived here, you know, Achish just said, I have too many cuckoos, I need another more, let him get away. And David left and went to Adullam and stayed there. But look what happened. Saul was trying to catch him. And from Adullam he went to Keilah, and Saul is after him. From Keilah he went to Ziph, and Saul after him. From Ziph to Maon and to Carmel. And look what happens. David came to a situation that said, I have no other chance but to run back to Achish, king of Gath, and stay here. And that's what we hear that happened. Chapter 27 tells that David came here again. Not only him, but all his 600 people with him. With his 2 wives, he came to Gath, to king of Achish. And again people came, but to Achish, why you take him? This is the man that it's written about him, that David killed, Saul king in 1,000, David in 10,000. But you see, in a way, something of the flavor of David came on the heart of Achish. And Achish accepted him. Achish liked him. Achish tried to convince all the other officers, no, he's faithful to me. And when David came and asked him, please, it's not so good that I stay in the big city. It's Ir Mamlacha in Hebrew we say. Let me one of the daughter city, of the villages more far, and let me stay there. And Achish told him, I give you the village of Ziklag. And there David took his 2 wives and his 600 people and went there. And we can read later on that after he'd been in Ziklag, the Philistines gathered their big army to fight against Israel, against Saul. And Achish offered David to be his bodyguard. Think about it. Now, all the Philistines, they came by thousands and 10,000 with their army. And who was the last one, the last little army group? David and his people with Achish. Now, the other officers of Ashkelon, of Gaza, of Ekron, of Ashdod, they look back. They look on Achish, king of Gath. What are you doing? How you dare to bring with you David? And again they mention, this is the one that the children of Israel said Saul was killing in 1,000, David in 10,000. And then they forced Achish to send David back. And David did all the way back to Ziklag to find what happened there, that the Amalekites conquered his place. Now, I want to let us stop a moment. I know it's not a very popular site, Gath. Very seldom I know even Israelis, tour guides that know this place. Not to say pastors. They don't know. Nobody arrives here. But there is a story here which I don't want to miss. And the story is that David, the greatest conqueror of the Philistines, the one that was beating them down, made end to them, he himself found rescue in the enemies of Israel. Now, this is a thing that we should ask ourselves how it can be. David will find rescue among the Philistines, and in the city where his greatest enemy, Goliath, came from. Look how our Heavenly Father works. I'm sure it's not a mistake what David told him. And look what happens here. Saul, the king of Israel, was a harder enemy to David than even the Philistines. Now we have to take it very seriously. Why? Because the bad spirit that came in Saul's mind wanted one thing. It wanted the life of David. The life of whom? Of this one that is going to be the forefather of Messiah. In other words, Saul is the first Antichrist. Really, in the full meaning. He wanted to get rid of David. He wanted to put end to the life of David. It It's a satanic power that was in Saul. Even left his battle with the Philistine to run after David. And you see what happens? This is the Antichrist. And David understood it. He said, I will not touch Saul. In two situations he could kill him. He said, no, I will not touch him because still is the anointed one. He went to the enemy of the enemy. And as we know many times, the enemy of the enemy becomes your friend. We read Psalm 56. We read it, and I'm so glad that David wrote this psalm, and he wrote it here. That to show us how fearful was David being here. It was not so simple for him to come and to see all these enemies around him want his life, till he had to make himself a cuckoo, right? I mean a mad. But still, he was more safe here than under Saul. And this is one of the things that came to my mind. How it can be that men like David was so afraid of the situation, so afraid of Saul, so afraid of Achish. And when he met Saul, he didn't kill him. You see the point? He could kill him and finish all this frightened. No, he didn't kill him. Look, the character of David. What he said, I will not touch the anointed one. He was dealing with his fears. How he was dealing? Writing them down and putting them into the hands of the Lord. Lord, you know I am afraid. You know that what I feel in myself, but I put it in your hand. Immediately after he left Achish, the king, and Gath, he went to Adullam, another site where Saul almost caught him. This we will see in another time. Let me just end this story of Gath. There is big story that have happened here. Very important place, very important city. Let me end by this. When later on Sancheriv came and destroyed all the Philistine cities, the first city that was destroyed was the city of Gath. No remains in this. You see, when Jeremiah is mentioning the cities of the Philistines, he's prophesying over Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron. He even mentions Gaza, but he doesn't mention Gath anymore. Why? Because it was already abandoned. So God used this city to protect his chosen one, David. And when God didn't need anymore to use this city, look, this is the first one that will be vanished from all the 5 Philistine cities.